Amazon is raising the minimum wage for all of its workers across the United States, including part-time, temporary, seasonal employees. It's $15 an hour, and it goes into effect November 1st. It's going to benefit 250,000 employees and an additional 100,000 seasonal workers this holiday season.
You know, Amazon has long been criticized, we've done it right here, for very low wages in warehouses and other facilities where some employees who are working for Amazon are relying on food stamps and other government programs to make ends meet. CEO and founder Jeff Bezos, who is the wealthiest man in modern history, did say this was a response to critics, and he hopes this change will push competitors to raise the minimum wage for more employees. Now, other companies, we saw this happen already with Walmart, but it was really one big critic. It was Bernie Sanders out there. For
Walmart, although, you know, it's convenient when the market dictates that you have to raise your wages to then be able to assuage your critics and say, you know, give them the credit for it. There may be more to this, as we saw with Walmart and we saw with Target. They were actually just having difficulty with the numbers of people that they had to hire. Let's bring in Jared Bernstein to figure this out a little bit. Jared's a senior fellow at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. He's a progressive liberal economist who probably likes the idea of the $15 minimum wage. The question is it critics or is it a market? Why'd they do it?
I think it's both. And by the way, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about some good news for once.
No kidding, right?
Very good news.
We're quite pleased about it, too.
It is really good news. And it's not only that they're raising the wages for 350,000 Walmart workers. Amazon has announced
workers.
Amazon has announced that they're going to push for a higher federal minimum wage of $15 an hour. So they're going to put their significant political weight behind that, too. And remember, the federal minimum wage has been stuck at $7.25 an hour since 2009. Now, lots of states, about 30 states, have raised their own, but especially southern states, which, by the way, getting to Ali's question, is where this is going to make a big difference. I mean, if you look at Washington State, it's not that big a deal because Amazon workers there are already paid close to this wage. But if you look at Texas, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, it is a big deal. It's not just the market, it's also the policy.
Jared, one of the issues, though, is what and who incentivizes corporate America. A CEO today, the stakeholders they have to answer to are their shareholders and their customers. It is not their employees. So when you look at how the stock, you know, we're celebrating saying this is good news. It's good news for Amazon. It's good news for their employees. It's good news for the economy because think about this. 350,000 people now have more money to spend. But the stock goes down because shareholders see no reason to pay people more than the absolute minimum. So it's one of the issues that we face, a bit of a twisted incentive schedule for CEOs today.
You know, I think you actually just described the way wage setting works in this labor market pretty well. And you're right, it's twisted, it's complicated, and it has a ton to do with bargaining power and bargaining clout. You know, Ali was very correctly going on about kind of the supply and the demand, and if labor markets are really tight, it should be pushing up wages. And we certainly see some of that, but we just don't see enough of it, which is why a wage policy like this is so important, because the market by itself simply isn't paying low-wage workers what they need to get ahead. Now, that's why we have a federal minimum wage, but of course Congress has ignored that for you know, about a decade now. So I think that given the weak bargaining clout of workers, you really need political movements like the one that has ultimately pressured Jeff Bezos into making this change.
Okay.
And Jeff Bezos thanks Bernie Sanders on Twitter.
Right. I'm a little puzzled about that because Bernie Sanders, you know, he's a senator from Vermont. Is Bernie Sanders just shorthand for a progressive movement that has led certain states, certain cities to increase their minimum wages because the market demands it?
I think that's right. I mean, I think Bernie Sanders, along with lots of other Democrats, Congressman Ro Khanna was also behind this this push. But these Democrats have been long trying to amplify the message I just was talking about, the idea that left to its own devices, the market will simply not return wages to low and middle wage workers commensurate with their productivity, commensurate with their contribution to the economy.
Jeff Bezos, except of course, Jeff Bezos had pressure pressure, but he wasn't forced to do it. You know, Allie and I, we have sat here and I've criticized the tax cut, saying unless you are putting some sort of lever here to force companies to increase wages, they won't do it. I was wrong. Jeff Bezos did it right here.
Yeah, well, you also made a point earlier that I think is worth underscoring, which is that this is actually good for Amazon, okay? Amazon workers, just like any other consumer, if their pay is higher, they're probably going to buy more stuff at Amazon. Some of this is going to come back to Bezos himself. Think of this as Henry Ford many decades ago deciding, well, if I want my workers to be able to afford cars, I'm going to have to pay them more. So this is a bit of the service sector analogy to that. Now, $15 an hour in some places is still not a living wage for a family, but it definitely helps. So I do think that there is a positive here for the economy, for the consumer. And yes, Bezos made this decision himself, but it's also good PR for the company.
Sure. We're talking about it, aren't we? Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.